Laws are set in motion to ensure the safety and well-being of the public. Appropriate measures are taken against those who deliberately contravene them. And as much as we would like to believe that our country is unbiased and maintains a certain level of principle when it comes to criminal offenses, the simple truth is that we are not all treated as equals. Every year, there are hundreds of fatalities as a result of shootings directly involving law police officers, and of those hundreds, only a minuscule fraction of them are taken to trial, and much less are actually convicted. The court system backs up law enforcement nearly every single time, regardless of whether or not they are guilty of the crime. To ensure the legitimacy of a prosecution and a fair trial for both the defendant and prosecutor, the public should be entitled to obtain videographic evidence of any wrongdoing, whether inflicted by law enforcement personnel or civilians. In these cases, wiretap laws should not apply so that raw, uncut footage of the events can be used for evidence. In recent years, there have been multiple cases to muster international media attention, and some of those include crimes committed by our very own police officers. How are we supposed to feel protected by both our officers and the justice system if these crimes are so easily justifiable when committed by law enforcement themselves? Let's talk about the Oscar Grant case, for example, a subway confrontation that ultimately led to the unreasonable and easily avoidable death of a young man, a man who was a father to a 4-year-old girl. Strangers around the commotion and the other police officers involved in the confrontation were all stunned to see Joe Hans Mazzurli shoot Grant. The altercation was filmed and shared on social media for millions to see. Malika Fraley, who was appointed Mazzurli's attorney, fought to prove that the incident was actually an accident. When this case reached civil jury, it was ruled an involuntary manslaughter, and Mazzurli spent only 1 year incarcerated. Mazzurli received the same sentence one would receive for carrying a handgun without a permit, extremely ironic given the circumstances, and sadly, if there had been no video clearly depicting the officer as the assailant, Mazzurli would have likely walked away without a single charge pressed against him. The last thing law enforcement officials want is to be captured in a negative light. When certain altercations arise and an officer acts in discordance to their typical standards, being captured on video would only make the situation worse. This would ultimately prove them to be guilty of said crime. Officials say the videotaping of these police encounters without consent of the officer should be illegal. This is due to the violation of wiretap laws because, in some states, both parties must consent to having a private conversation recorded. If this were the case, then the videotapes captured by police vehicles should be dismissible in court. There have also been multiple cases where a defendant won their case because of evidence provided by videos and/or audio recordings. The video themselves are not considered crimes, rather a fair chance at proving the victim innocent. If these scenarios are not violating wiretap laws, why should the ones concerning police officers be? It's unfortunate that tragic events that are easily avoidable happen so often. Another tragic case of police brutality was the one of Eric Garner, a 43-year-old man, father of 6, killed by a chokehold from a New York police officer. He is seen on video gasping for air, saying, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." Officials demanded everyone back away from the scene when they noticed the man was unconscious, blocking the camera from capturing further details. If it weren't for raw, uncut videos of these scenarios, there would never be any justice for the innocent. In this case, justice was actually never served. The officer responsible for the death of Garner was not charged, nor did he go to trial. On the other hand, the person who videotaped the scene was sentenced to 4 years in prison for the possession of a weapon and drug charges. Although that may have been accurate crimes, why wasn't the person responsible for the death of a man held accountable for his actions? As years go by, videotaping gadgets continue to progress, and these days it is possible to record videos on nearly any device. To maintain some level of equality between law enforcement officials and civilians alike, each person should be entitled to record a public interaction. Without these videos, innocent people like Garner and Grant would not have received the exposure they did. It was only because of the right the public formed that these cases were even brought to light. As the court states, innocent until proven guilty. defendants should have the right to prove themselves innocent through their videographic evidence.